welcome in everyone. Episode number 5 of the 300 Second Sports Podcast. I am back here today with Casey and Colin. Welcome in, gentlemen. How are y'all doing?
I'm doing great today. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go.
That's good news. Casey?
I am swell. I am ready to talk about sports.
Yeah, are you? I'm excited to talk about sports too. All right, so our docket for today, talking about sports, we are going to have a brief discussion about the NBA and the NHL as their big transaction seasons their big transaction windows start to close. We're going to talk a lot about the World Cup, weekend review, and knockout round preview, as well as an MLB All-Star game preview. So before we get into all that, I want to plug our Instagram at 300 Section Sports Podcast. It's the same as our YouTube handle. You can find us there for content posted throughout the entire week, trying to stay engaged on there. Colin, any update on the Spotify?
You know I moved this week, all right? So there's no need to come at me like that. But I'm going to work on it soon. But next episode, the background should be different. That's all I'll say.
Oh, that's exciting. All right, so Casey, it is your turn to give us a trivia question of the week. Obviously, I offended Colin last week with how terrible my question was, apparently. So hopefully you can top my question.
I apologize. I may have overreacted. I had other stuff going on outside of that. But still don't like the question.
Well, I hope you like my question, Colin and Grady, because this is about the Tampa Bay Rays. All right,
Exciting.
So for my question, I went with, what game and inning did they take Blake Snell out of the World Series that ultimately messed up their chances of winning?
Wait, you said game and inning?
Game and inning, yep.
Okay.
You're a cruel person.
So today's trivia question is, how hard can Casey punch Colin and Grady in the stomach emotionally? It's like what we went with today.
But you should get it, right?
I think I know it off the top of my head.
So
I'm writing it down immediately.
Yeah. I can tell you the game, but I have blacked out this game because it's like watching people get killed in front of you. You don't want to remember that kind of stuff. I watched my hopes and dreams die that day.
That's true.
Well, I have my answer ready to go, Colin.
I'm ready. I'm as ready as I'm gonna be.
You're ready? Do you want to answer first?
Yeah, I have game first, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have game 6, and I believe it was. I'm thinking Kevin Cash. I want to say he pulled him in the 7th inning, I think.
Okay.
My answer's almost the same. I went game 6, 6th inning.
Oh, I was gonna say 6th inning.
Game 6, 6th inning. I'm pretty sure that's the answer.
And yes, Grady is correct on that. Bottomless 6 with 1 out.
I will never forget that. You could see Snell's face coming off that field. He knew they were screwing up.
You want to know the worst thing? I had 6 written down, and I just pivoted off of it because I was like, no, that can't be true. That can't be right.
Bro just wanted a 6-7. No.
Well, it got wrong for me, so I should have just gone 6.
Come on, Casey. 6-7's over now.
Yeah.
Hear yourself.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead. Random sports game picks of the week. This one's a little bit interesting. Casey, you are Filipino, so you chose this question for us. So do you want to introduce this pick for us?
Yes, of course. So the Little League World Series is happening this summer, starting August 2nd and going through the 8th. So they go through a bunch of regional tournaments to place who comes out of each region. So the U.S. has 8 regions, one being the Southwest, where we're at in Florida.
Southeast.
And Southeast. And the Mountain region, where I think Wyoming is. But the one we're going to be looking at. I think, because I only think.
Why didn't you just go with West in California?
He wanted to call out specifically Wyoming.
I've never seen them play in the tournament.
But specifically, we're going to be looking at the Asia Pacific Regional Tournament because they're the first regional to play and crown a champion. So with that, as Grady said, I'm going with the Philippines. They went 2-1 starting off. They did lose to Chinese Taipei 10-0, who have won the World Series 18 times. So I'm really hopeful, but at the same time, if they don't, then it'll hurt because it's actually the farthest they've been in that regional in a while. So,
well,
Grady?
for you, I'll be rooting for the Philippines for you.
I'll root for them, but I didn't pick them.
That's fair. That's so fair.
All right, you didn't pick them, Colin. Who'd you pick?
So Casey sent us a nice little link to go look at what teams were playing, how they were doing, and I opened it up, and the first thing I see is Chinese Taipei won their first game 19-0. I immediately closed my phone and picked Chinese Taipei.
Well, that's fair. My reasoning for the team that I chose is a little bit different. I went with South Korea because they went 2-0, I saw. And I don't know a whole lot about Little League World Series, even in America, much less outside of this country. But what I do know is over the past, plenty of years, there has been a lot of South Korean infusion into Major League Baseball. So I'm going to trust what they're building there in Little League 2 and choose them.
Well, Chinese Taipei has given up like one run. I think they've won 19-0, 10-0, and like 12-1.
You already said them. So I'm going on South Korea here.
I appreciate keeping it diverse, but if it's not Chinese Taipei, I'm gonna be shocked.
Yeah.
All right.
I opened it up excited to pick Japan too. I was like, it's got to be them, right? And
no, actually, Japan has their own regional because of how good they. Oh my god! They got their own regional now.
You tricked me. I was like, how did Japan not make it? I was like, where are they at?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is the pick of the week. Little League World Series Asia Pacific Regional. I would not have watched it otherwise, but now I'm going to be interested to watch. So thank you, Casey. All right. NBA. Let's talk about it. Draft was last week. It was ongoing as we were recording. AJ DeBansa went first overall to the Washington Wizards, as many people had kind of foreseen going into the draft. I think during the college basketball season, there was some questions about who'd be going first overall, but as the season ended, it was pretty clear who would be first. And yeah, I was just wondering, anyone have any thoughts about DeBansa going first overall? I mean, he was the clear-cut number one option here, but what does it mean for the Wizards, maybe?
I mean, everyone thought he was the number one overall draft pick, and yeah.
I mean, I do think the Wizards got the best player that was available to them, so I will give them credit for that. I still think I would have loved to see him go and play in Utah. Like I said, players who want to go to Utah are, it's rare. But yeah, I think the Wizards got the best player available. I think that's as good as they're going to do. So hopefully he turns out good. I'll be rooting for him. It's unfortunate he's in Washington. But it looks like they're trying to do some stuff now with maybe trading Anthony Davis. So we'll see what the season outlook looks like. I thought they were going to try to compete. Looks like maybe now they're not going to.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Trae Young loves to hear that. All right, let's talk about some NBA trades that went on. Not too much going on in the trade market in the NBA post-draft, but one major shakeup since the last time we've talked, guys. LaMelo Ball was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves from the Charlotte Hornets for a first-round pick, 3 second-round picks, and 3 first-round pick swaps. So obviously this creates an interesting backcourt for the Timberwolves in Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball. But I was wondering, do we think this is an appropriate price for LaMelo? Because I feel like there are some people who could argue is a little bit lackluster.
It was what, 3 first-round swaps?
3 first-round swaps, a first-round pick, and 3 second-round picks.
It's interesting to me because I think the players that they got are a lot better than what we've seen in the other trades. Because I believe this was the deal that it was the Naz Reid. Was it Naz Reid was this deal, right?
Yeah.
And I like Naz Reid. I think Naz Reid is really good. So in that case, I would say, yeah. I think it went well for them, but I do somewhat question if 3 pick swaps is kind of what you want. But I just don't think with Anthony Edwards there, I don't think they'll ever be good picks anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's kind of my line of thought there too. Obviously, Naz Reid is a good player, not to take away from that, but I don't think he's, that great of a player in comparison to LaMelo Ball, to where I think the Hornets kind of got fleeced here, to be completely honest.
Well, I mean, he wanted out, so there's always that.
That's true. That's true.
And also, I think it's interesting to wonder if maybe the pick swap is going to be the new, for lack of a better word, like NBA meta.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the new draft odds, bad teams, it might not matter them if they have their own pick, if it's going to get swapped and moved out, and maybe the Timberwolves just missed the playoffs, and nowadays that gives them a better chance of actually getting a better pick. So, maybe you don't actually want to own the outright picks because some teams perceive it's a lower value if you do the swap, but you just get to keep whatever pick is better. I mean, how often do you really want to pick multiple guys in the NBA draft nowadays anyway? A lot of them just go to the G League. So,
yeah.
Everyone's shooting for top 5. Outside of top 10, it doesn't seem like that many NBA teams care about the first-round pick as much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the way that you compete and win championships is by getting rid of your first-round picks. So, not crazy for Minnesota. Also, for the Charlotte Hornets, they traded Miles Bridges to the Phoenix Suns. I think it's an interesting move, just complete rebuild happening here in Charlotte. But one more trade that I wanted to talk about happened today, actually. Ja Morant was traded from the Memphis Grizzlies to the Portland Trail Blazers in exchange for Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray. Guys, if you want to talk about a lackluster return for LaMelo Ball, certainly this is for Ja Morant, right? Even if he wanted out.
I kind of I don't really know because I don't see the vision in general on either side. I don't see what he does for Portland, and I don't see what Memphis. It's a shame. I think Memphis really had a core that we're going to look back on and really wonder how this happened. Desmond Bane has been amazing for the Magic. They got more for Desmond Bane than they got for Ja Morant, so I do think that might say a lot about how Ja Morant is valued around the league. But if you would have told me 2 years ago they were going to trade all of their 3 of their core between Bane, Jaren Jackson, and Morant was going to get the least return, I would have been shocked. But if you told me that right now, I would say, yeah, that makes complete sense. I think he's a locker room issue, and if you're going to have a total rebuild, I wouldn't want him to be the guy leading the new guys around. So,
yeah, I agree. There is some concern in terms of character for Ja Morant for sure. Casey, do you have any thoughts on Ja Morant?
Yeah, for LaMelo Ball, I thought he was an overhyped player. So another overhyped player that we just brought into because of the trade was Ja Morant. I mean, I don't think he's going to play up to his 25-26 season. He didn't average over 20 points this year. And even though I think it's Jeremy Grant that they got for him,
That's right.
Played 14. Like he put up almost similar numbers as him last season. I really don't know much about Chris Murray, but that's saying I don't know much of the NBA, but I'm not a big anyways. So I just really don't know who to think of won this trade. Like it probably is Morant, like just looking at it, but
You mean
really
you think Durant won the trade as an individual? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
All right. One more NBA question before we move on for this week. Guys, there were 7 teams in each conference that did not make the NBA playoffs this season. What is one team of those 14 that you think will make the playoffs next year based on how they did in whether the free agency, draft, a big trade? Casey, what do you think?
All right, yes. To start off, I completely think it depends on whether this team can stay healthy, but I went with the Washington Wizards to make the playoffs next season, and like I said, they're a pretty like unhealthy team. Like Anthony Davis was hurt, and he's been hurt, and Trae Young has been hurt, but they just signed Trae Young, like we all know, and he's been a really good player. And when Anthony Davis is healthy, he can play defense really well. And they've also have Alex Sarr, who was drafted 2nd overall in 2024, and he averaged over 16 points last year. And they also acquired Keyshawn George. I don't know if it was a year ago, but he was also a former first-round draft pick in 2024, and he averaged over 14 points per game last year.
Yeah,
and not to mention, like they got AJ.
So I think that's a good team. My only question for you is, how much does Anthony Davis being there weigh in? Because I think he might not be there.
Really, like based on health?
There are rumors that he wants out.
There's rumors, yeah.
He's looking out.
And the Warriors are looking to acquire him if they can make the salary work.
Oh, that hurts. Oh, I hate the Warriors. But yeah, I think it's definitely dependent on whether Anthony Davis plays for that team or not.
They're looking at getting LeBron too, just a heads up.
Oh, what? No, that's not gonna happen. No.
It's looking more and more likely every day.
Yeah,
no,
stop over there in the Bay Area. So
we'll talk about that later.
I went with a good young team that I think only has room to improve. We've seen a lot of really good players kind of take that leap from first to second year as the team can kind of build around them while they're on their rookie contract. So I think a lot of the hype around this guy is maybe down right now, which is just because there's some new shiny toys coming into the NBA. But I haven't forgotten about Cooper Flagg. And I think that the Mavericks are really a team that could make that push and could maybe find their way into the play-in in the West and maybe push for one of those last few spots. Do I think they're going to maybe make a finals run? No, I don't think they're there right now. But I do think that team could be a playoff team, especially if Kyrie can stay healthy all year. They have the core that was meant to go around Luka. They have some young talent they've grabbed since then, and they have a new coach who's shown he knows how to win. Whether or not you like Dusty May, that's conversation for maybe a different time. I don't particularly like him myself, but
same.
But he does win. We saw Billy Donovan leave Florida, go to the Thunder, and take them to a finals. I don't think he necessarily has that kind of success or that amount of talent is on the roster as Westbrook, Harden, and Kevin Durant. But I think there's something there. And I think this is a guy who clearly has shown he can win. He's won everywhere he's been. So why not make the playoffs?
Yeah, well, I do agree. I think the Mavericks will be better next year than they were this year, and very well could find themselves in the playoffs. But there was a team. I had a few teams listed depending on what y'all's answers were, and I thought this was the clear-cut answer in my opinion. Guys, there's a team that didn't make the playoffs this year that was in the finals 2 seasons ago. In the Indiana Pacers.
If you think the words heat and success will ever come out of my mouth in the same sentence on this podcast, you are incorrect.
Sir, I'm talking about the Indiana Pacers and
they're not going back. I disagree. Sorry, I just disagree.
That's fine. You can disagree. I think a full healthy season of Tyrese Halliburton, he should be fully recovered from the Achilles injury by the time next season starts. I think he proved in that playoff run 2 years ago that he is one of the elite level guards in the NBA. I think that he can take them to the playoffs. Do I think they'll find themselves back in the finals 2 years ago? Absolutely not. But I do think that they are a playoff caliber team as long as Tyrese Halliburton is healthy and active for them.
I think Tyrese Halliburton is good. I think that team relies a lot on him elevating everyone else. That's my only concern.
But he can do that.
But will he be able to sustain elevating the roster enough to compete in an East that I think got a lot stronger? And that's not a knock on Tyrese Halliburton. It's really a knock on the rest of the team because in no world should a team go from the finals to one of the worst teams in the league because of one player going down. I know he's clear-cut their best player, but again, if they're going to rely on him to elevate the roster to that level, it's a big ask for a guy coming off a torn ACL a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's that level of player. That's just my opinion. You can argue it either way, really.
I'm just glad no one said the Heat.
No, nobody said the Heat. And I did say we can rewind. I said the Pacers before you ever said the Heat, and you still went on your little Heat tangent. So
sorry, I just thought
no,
it was so obvious. I was like, I will not speak their name into the sacred ground.
No, all right. Let's go ahead and move on to the NHL. Last week they also had their draft. Mr. McKenna, can we draft you? I'm not sure if y'all get that reference or not. Justin Bieber was at the draft. It was a whole thing. Anyways, Gavin McKenna went first overall to the Toronto Maple Leafs last week. We ourselves had a mock draft where we picked the first 4 picks of the NHL draft, and we got the first 3 correct in Gavin McKenna going to the Leafs, in Ivar Stenberg going to the Sharks, and Kayla Mahatra going to the Vancouver Canucks. The place where we got screwed up was we picked 4th as the Chicago Blackhawks, the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Blackhawks, I picked 4th as Chicago Blackhawks. And the Blackhawks did not make that selection as they traded that 4th overall pick. So that kind of screwed up our mock draft, but hey, we'll take 3 out of 4.
I'm 1 for 1. I don't remember missing.
Let's talk about who really made those picks. All right.
I'm kind of 1 for 1.
Yeah? Okay.
I want to see Vasi go, but whatever.
Whoa! No, not again. Not again. We're done with that.
Okay.
Move on.
Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going.
He's clip farming.
Anyways, the big one, Gavin McKenna, another superstar in Toronto. We know how those usually shake out. We'll see. Maybe he's different this time. But I like to see the Leafs struggle. That's my personal opinion.
I thought you were about to say you would like to see the Leafs turn it around. I was like, no, I would not.
No, I would not.
I was like,
I like
it
it when
has
the
never
Leafs are
said
bad.
that sentence in his life.
I like it when the Leafs are bad. So, sorry, Gavin McKenna. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk a little bit NHL trade review. Different from the NBA, and I think it's because the NHL has such a weak free agent class this year. There has been a frenzy of trades over the past 2 weeks, just of superstar caliber players, or maybe not superstar, but at least star caliber players. And I just want to go over a few of them that we missed since last week. As soon as we finished recording last week, the Chicago Blackhawks traded the 4th overall pick we were just talking about to acquire defenseman Bowen Byram from the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres used that pick to draft Daxon Rudolph from Prince Albert in the WHL. So, a little bit of a shakeup in the D-man that you want to select at the 4th overall pick. But yeah, that's what ended up happening there. Washington Capitals acquired Alex Tuck from the Buffalo Sabres via a sign and trade, which I think is interesting because I mentioned the Buffalo Sabres giving up 2 pretty high caliber players, in my opinion, over the past 2 trades. And looking at a team that just won the Atlantic in the regular season, I think it's an interesting move from them. The Boston Bruins acquired forward J.J. Peterka from the Utah Mammoth in exchange for 2 first-round selections. The New York Rangers acquired Pavel Dorofeia from the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for 2 first-round selections and a 3rd-round pick. The St. Louis Blues acquired forward Mason McTavish from the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for 2 first-round selections. Both of them were in the 2026 draft, the draft that just happened, as the Blues entered the draft with 4 first-round picks. The Carolina Hurricanes acquired defenseman John Carlson from the Anaheim Ducks via a sign and trade. So that's all of the noteworthy trades that happened during and throughout the draft process. But one that I want to talk about before we move on is the Vegas Golden Knights choosing to trade Pavel Dorofeyev to the New York Rangers as opposed to re-signing him. Obviously, Dorofeyev was going to be a restricted free agent going into free agency. So they had a little bit of leeway in terms of his contract, but someone else could have swooped in and offered him more money, which I think is likely what Vegas saw happening. However, I do think it's interesting from a Rangers point of view to trade away Artemi Panarin last year, fully commit to the rebuild, and then spend 2 first-round selections to pick up Pavel Dorofeyev. Guys, do you have any thoughts?
I genuinely have no idea who that is, with all due respect. But one thing I did think of that I just want to say is I believe, so off topic, but I believe we had John Carlson on last week's episode. We had the.
That's correct, yes.
And I want to say, I never do this, so just enjoy it while it lasts. I believe Casey said he would be going to the Anaheim Ducks.
No, the Carolina Hurricanes traded for John Carlson. He played for the Ducks last year.
My bad, Casey. I tried to give you your moment.
It's okay. I was like, when did I say that? No, I didn't say that.
No, I may have said it wrong when I was reading it off. That could have been my fault. Anyways,
it was a lot going on. The hockey stuff is like an alien language to me sometimes because I genuinely have no idea who some of the people are, and it's really disorienting.
I'm trying to teach you. Anyways, you don't know Pavel Dorofeyev, but there were plenty of people. You want to say something, Casey?
Yeah. Well, I thought it was a pretty fair trade for both teams. Like Pavel finished the regular season scoring the most goals out of the Vegas Golden Knights, but they still had shooters in like Eichel, Stone, and Marner that eventually helped them in the playoffs, bring them to the Stanley Cup final. So pairing Pavel with Mike Z up in New York, I think that would be a pretty good duo, especially when Micah scored the most points. Actually, I think he did score the most points, but he did also score the most goals.
Mika Zibanejad is usually the leading scorer for the New York Rangers. Yes.
Yeah, and then getting 2 first-round draft picks for Pavel plus a 3rd round. I think that was pretty fair overall.
So, just educate me. What this guy Pavel, right? I'm assuming is that his
Pavel
name?
Dorofeyev, yes.
Pavel Dorofeyev. Never gonna pronounce that right, but that's fine.
I said Pavel.
Is this guy per chance like a younger player or like what's like?
Yeah, so young forward for the Vegas Golden Knights. He was the leading goal scorer for the Vegas Golden Knights in not only the regular season but the playoffs as they went to the Stanley Cup final.
So they get a guy who's a little bit younger and under contract for them while they try to start their rebuild. I mean, that makes sense to me at least if that's what we're looking at here.
Oh yeah, and I would agree, but they do have to extend Pavel Dorofeyev, and they signed him to a 7-year, $11 million per year extension, which for a player of his level and a player that could potentially lead your team in goals, which that is his specialty, I think he very well could lead the Rangers in goals. You pair him with Zibanejad on the top line, especially on the power play. I think they could definitely cook in that Metropolitan Division next year.
In the words of Grady, the cap is only ever going up. So
this is true. I always say that. That's what I preach. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with signing guys to a $10 million plus extension 5 years ago. That would have been, sacrilegious in the NHL, but this is the NHL we're currently in. So guys like Pavel Dorofeyev are demanding $11 million a year. And I think for the Rangers, improvement. It's not a Panarin replacement, but it is someone that you can plug in the Panarin spot. All right. Anyways, let's talk about a few names to still keep an eye on in the NHL as we, approach this kind of dead season in the NHL. So there are 4 American players, really, and we're seeing this now with American players who are trying to demand where they want to play out the remainder of their contract as they get to the final 2-3 years. And I think it's a really interesting phenomenon that we're seeing in the NHL. But 3 of those players were on the Olympic team, and Connor Hellebuck of the Winnipeg Jets. Colin, you certainly remember the unbelievable game he had in that gold medal game for the United States. Yeah, he had an assist on the.
So that really speaks for itself.
Yeah, it absolutely speaks for itself.
He had like 42 saves and
Reportedly,
an assist.
reportedly, he wants out. Some of the top contenders for him are the Vegas Golden Knights, unfortunately. The Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers are apparently all heavily pursuing Connor Hellebuck, and who wouldn't? You want a player of his caliber. He won back-to-back Vezinas. And
I do
yeah.
have thoughts. I
Yeah, go
want to
ahead.
say that I really think it will be the Panthers. It seemed, which I know you don't want to hear. I know you hate hearing that.
Yeah, I do.
But they clearly have something going on with those Team USA guys where they want to play together outside of Team USA. We've seen some of the guys move down there to go play with the Panthers. They kind of have, from my understanding, an aging goaltending situation.
That's correct.
If you get the Hellebuck we got at the Olympics, that could win you a Stanley Cup. I mean, we've seen him single-handedly win or go home games, and just single-handedly stand on his head. You saw it in the gold medal match. I'm not saying he's going to do it every time, but you've seen that this is a guy who can stand on his head for you. Is he going to do it every time? No, maybe not. But if you're looking for a younger goaltender who wants to be there, who likes playing with these guys, who's a good locker room fit, I think it's something the Panthers should look into.
Well, all I can say is absolutely props to Connor Hellebuck for that gold medal game. You know, American sports legend for the rest of his life. However, that is the only time in his career that he has ever stood on his head in a win-or-go-home game. He has been absolutely horrendous throughout his career for the Winnipeg Jets.
That's because he doesn't want to be in Canada. Imagine what he could do with all the Latinas down in Miami. He'd be moving different down there, bro.
That is a sales pitch. That is a sales pitch.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. On that note, we're going to talk about another guy who reportedly has Florida on his trade list as well. Dylan Larkin, Detroit Red Wings. We talked about him a few episodes ago, so you're not going to go over him too much in depth. But a guy that I do want to talk about, because I think there are several teams who could make a very aggressive offer at him. Zach Werenski, the reigning Norris Trophy winner, defenseman of the Columbus Blue Jackets, obviously also on that Team USA, on the ice for that game-winning goal by Jack Hughes, also got an assist on that goal. So I think for a reigning Norris Trophy winner of Werenski's caliber, considering that he has a few years left on his contract, I think he's going to demand a pretty penny. But I think you could see teams who are willing to offer up that kind of return to Columbus. And I think teams that would be willing to do so would be the Montreal Canadiens. I think, in my opinion, they're the most poised to do so. That depends on whether or not he wants to waive his no-move clause to go to Canada. And I think that teams in the U.S. who have the capital to go out and get Werenski would be potentially the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Dallas Stars, and I think maybe even the Anaheim Ducks or San Jose Sharks, even if they are a few steps away on their rebuild.
What team here would you say needs him the most? Because I kind of have a thought, but I want to know what you think.
Well, in my opinion, this is a somewhat biased opinion, but I also think it's unbiased, just considering the glaring defensive issues of the Tampa Bay Lightning last year. If they can somehow find a way to package, and now I've seen several packages, whether that's, Cirelli and a prospect and 2 first-round picks for Werenski, I think that could be a reasonable return. I think you plug Werenski into that top D-line with J.J. Moser, and suddenly you have the best D-line in the NHL. And I think that would solve a lot of issues for the Lightning. So in my opinion, I think in terms of them wanting to win now, he would be the most necessary acquisition for them.
I was going to say the Stars.
Yeah, go ahead. Why is that?
I just think that we watched them get eviscerated defensively last year. It was pretty tough to watch for a team that looked so good all year. And then they just completely fell apart. It felt like defensively in the playoffs. So why not? You can only play so many forwards. You need some people who can play defense. And they seem like a team that it reminds me a lot of the Carolina Hurricanes from, years past, where it's like, they're right there. They're right there. Oh, they're right there. Well, what better way to say we're tired of being right there. We're here now. And then go out and get one of the best defensemen in the league.
I mean, sure, you're right. absolutely, in the sense that they've been in the conference finals 3 of the past 4 years and haven't been able to get over that hump. They played in the Cup final in 2021 against, the Lightning. So yeah, I agree. They are absolutely right there. And speaking of the Stars, I want to move on to one more trade target because he has been maybe the most polarizing trade target in the NHL in terms of the information that's came out about his contract situation. In Jason Robertson on the Dallas Stars playing the wing, reportedly, the Seattle Kraken offered him a 8-year deal of $14 million a year. Jason Robertson declined that deal, and I can't make sense of that. That is life-changing money. He may want to win, but
he doesn't want to pay those Seattle taxes on it either.
Yeah, and that's why I think he could be included in a trade package for Zach Werenski, but you're sending him to a similar, if not worse, situation in Columbus where he's not going to win there immediately. So I don't know if you could do that if you're Dallas, but
Seattle $14 million is Dallas $10 million.
That is true.
So
Dallas doesn't have $10 million for him, though, is the problem.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, there's other places that can offer that kind of, or maybe he just wants to win and he's willing to make less than $14 million a year to win.
Sure. I'd like to see him on the Lightning too. That's all I'll say. But
who would? You want to see everyone on the Lightning?
I want to see everyone on the Lightning.
Connor McDavid on the Lightning.
I've been beating that drum for months, and you know it.
Yeah, well, we'll beat that drum another day.
Yeah, I'm first in line for the jersey to buy it when he gets traded here. Anyways, that's all for the NHL today, guys. Let's move on to the most important part of our podcast today, and that is going to be the FIFA World Cup has entered the knockout round. So we are going to get into a quick preview, and then we are going to jointly make our selections. Before we get into that, I do want to update you all. As of the conclusion of the Germany versus Paraguay game today, in which Paraguay won in pens, Colin has 80 points. He is leading our challenge. I have 68, and Casey has 60. So 20-point gap between Colin and Casey. Casey, do you think you can make that up?
No, I'm inevitable.
Yeah, because Portugal's going to win the World Cup final. So that's what will happen.
Do they have a World Cup for teams that get eliminated in the round of 32?
They're not going to get eliminated in the round of 32. And if not, Morocco's coming. So
I can't wait to see this reel when I come back to this reel that Grady is clipping right now when Portugal.
I mean, we already knew that I chose Portugal from the beginning, and I stuck with it. Unlike some.
I will give you credit. You have absolutely stuck with Portugal the whole way.
Yeah, I respect it. I'm here to be. I'm ready to be clip farmed. And then Portugal's going to win the World Cup, and then then we're going to be watching this reel, and I'm going to be like, dang, I can't believe I said that.
No, don't reverse psychology yourself right now.
Either way, this is becoming a reel. All right, guys, we're going to play a game. We are going to pick the knockout round, make our selections. The way that we're going to do it is each of us is going to choose who we think is going to win an individual game, and from that prediction, whichever team gets 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3 will move on to the next round. So I'm going to go ahead and throw up the bracket on the screen here. So we'll read it like a book. We'll work from left to right, starting with Germany, Paraguay. Paraguay already won that game, so we're going to skip that here. But next game, France versus Sweden. Colin, you're big on France. Who do you think wins this game?
France. They're going to win the whole World Cup. So I'm going to say France.
All right. Casey?
Yeah, France, clear winner.
All right, cool. We don't got to go very far into it because I'm also going to say France. So nice little sweep there for France. Next matchup, South Africa versus Canada was played yesterday. Canada won that game 1-0 off a crazy goal in extra time. Not extra time, stoppage time, which was really impressive. Next game to pick, Netherlands, Morocco. As we are live recording, this game is going on.
51st minute.
It is in the 51st minute right now. Is it still 0-0?
Morocco actually just took a shot on goal and it got saved. So, yeah, it's still 0-0.
So we're still 0-0. Wonderful. That means we can make a selection here. Casey, what's your pick?
Morocco, baby. They've been looking good all game, even though I've been watching just short little clips of them from now and then. But they've been on the second half of the field, so I think Morocco.
Yeah, well, I'm sticking with my guys on the Netherlands team. I selected them pretty highly in our draft, so I'm going to keep riding with them. I'm going Netherlands. Colin, you got to break the tie here.
So I have a little bit of issues with both this team. One, I think Morocco has relied a lot on being that Cinderella story. That's not the case anymore. I think teams know they're coming. I think, Netherlands is clearly prepared for them defensively. The only issue is I don't think that Netherlands really have anyone up top who I'm like really confident in scoring goals. They've had, I think Robbie is the guy's last name. I can't think of it exactly off the top of my head, but he's been playing really well. I think it's going to be a tight game, 0-0, maybe going into penalties. But I'm going to have to stick with Netherlands.
All right, Netherlands. Moving on to the next round. First contentious one, 2 out of 3. All right, next game, Portugal and Croatia, a team that has experience in the World Cup final versus a team that sees its window closing. Or I suppose both teams see their windows closing. But Colin, who do you got here?
Well, there's 2 players in this World Cup who have won the Golden Ball and have been named best player at a FIFA World Cup men's tournament. And one of those players is playing in this game. So I'm going to go with him. I'm going to take Croatia.
Sorry, I'm muted. You're taking Croatia. I like it. Interesting pick. I'm going to go flip side. I think Portugal has been disappointing so far. I think most would say. I think Casey would agree that they've been disappointing so far. However, I do think they can get the job done against Croatia. Casey, you're breaking the tie.
Yeah, close game, but I think Portugal has a better team right now. So, Portugal.
Portugal moves on. All right, Spain versus Austria. Casey, you want to pick first?
Spain. They're clear consensus for winning the World Cup before this tournament happen, and I think they'll clean Austria pretty well.
Yeah, Colin?
Well, I want to talk about this team, but I'll do it later since they're moving on, Spain.
Yeah, I'm in agreement here. I think they're clearly the best team and should be pretty simple work for them if they show up. All right, next game, guys, are United States versus Bosnia. Colin, thoughts here?
I'm a true patriot. I'm picking the United States. No questions.
Casey?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the U.S. as well on this one. They just looked really good in the group stage, so U.S.
And I am with you as well, U.S. and A. All right, next game, Belgium versus Senegal. Casey, kick us off.
I think Senegal is a really good dark horse team right now, and Belgium has not looked good at all in the tournament. So I'm going to go with Senegal.
Going with Senegal. Colin, I know you have Belgium on your list of teams. Are you riding with them?
So, you know how I've been talking to you guys a little bit. I haven't said anything really about it on the podcast. I think Belgium was my flop pick. Unfortunately, I took them pretty high. They haven't panned out. I believe the golden generation maybe had a little bit left. Unfortunately, I don't think they do. They had one big win. It was against a really bad team. I'm going to go with Senegal.
And all 3 of us will be going with the underdog here. I have faith in Senegal. I think that
I think this could be a trap game for Senegal, though. I still think Belgium is good, but if I had to bet, I would say Senegal.
Yeah, I'm going with Senegal too for essentially the same exact reason. All right, moving on to the other side of the bracket, Brazil versus Japan. That game was played this morning for us at the time of the recording. Brazil took that game 2-1, also in stoppage time with a goal. That game was pretty spectacular. Moving on to the next game, Ivory Coast versus Norway. Colin, you got a pick?
Yeah, I do want to note that Norway purposely lost their last game to get this spot in the bracket. So when you're looking at it, does that seem like the craziest decision? I don't necessarily think so. But I do think it would be kind of ironic if it came back and bit them and they lost to Ivory Coast here after all the maneuvering they did. That being said, I'm still going to take Norway.
Casey?
Going with Ivory Coast on this one. Their defense looks good. I mean, I've seen them in the friendlies. Their game against Germany looked really good. Like they only lost by 1, but I think they can stop Holland.
Well, I am going to break the tie here. I'm going to take Norway for the opposite reason. I think Holland is the best player on the pitch, and I think he is going to make his presence known. So I'm picking Norway.
I do want to say
here. Go ahead.
This is the second best game of the round of 32.
Yeah.
On paper, this is the second best game in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Moving on to what should also be a good game: Mexico versus Ecuador. Casey.
I'm gonna go with Ecuador on this one, only because watching Mexico, they had good results in the group stage, but it wasn't against good teams. Like against South Korea, they won 1-0, and I didn't think their goal was good. So I'm gonna go with Ecuador on this one.
All right, Colin.
This is a battle of two teams that I think have played stylistically extremely different. Mexico hasn't given up a goal all World Cup, and Ecuador has fought for their life and barely been able to score. I think that speaks for itself. I got Mexico going through.
All right. Well, then I am breaking the tie here. And Colin, I agree with you. I like the way Mexico's looked so far in the World Cup, and I'm picking them to move on. All right. Next game, England versus the Democratic Republic of the Congo, not Dominican Republic of the Congo. Colin.
All right. One time.
I'm just messing.
And I knew I messed it up. I think this team will flop at the World Cup, but they will not flop here. England, move on.
Casey?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go the same way. England, Congo looked good, but not good enough to beat England.
Yeah, I predicted last week that I think England can find themselves being early exits in this knockout stage. However, I don't think that it'll be this early. I'm picking England to move on. So 3-0 there on England. Next game, Argentina versus Cape Verde. Colin, who do you got?
Argentina. Messi hasn't not scored in the last 7 World Cup games he's played in. I don't see that trend stopping. I think it's a good story. I really like Cape Verde. Unfortunately, they're playing Argentina in the round of 32. So,
yeah, rough draw. Casey, do you have Cape Verde maybe making a miracle win here?
Unfortunately, this is where their road ends because I think Argentina can go back to back in the World Cup.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Back to back here. We are going with 3-0 picks. This time, Argentina moving on. Next game, Australia versus Egypt. Casey, who do you got?
Oh, this one, I think this is a really close game for me. But watching both teams, I think Egypt can win this just maybe like a 1-0 final game.
Yeah.
yeah. Australia's bad. With all due respect, they're really bad. They should not have beat Turkey. They really got lucky, in my opinion, to win that game. And Egypt really, I think, could have won their group. So I'm going to go Egypt.
Yeah, and for the third time in a row, we're talking 3-0 on picks. I'm also taking Egypt here. 2 games left in the round of 32, Switzerland versus Algeria. Colin, who do you got?
Algeria, they can score goals. We've seen it. We saw it in the last game of the group stage. Going with them.
All right, Casey?
Yeah, going opposite. I'm going to go with Switzerland on this one.
All right, well, here I am breaking the tie yet again. And guys, I like what I've seen from Switzerland so far this tournament. I think they, maybe played in an easy group, but I can see them picking up this win here. Switzerland is going to move on to the next round. Final game in the round of 32, Colombia versus Ghana. Casey, who do you got?
I'm going to go with, God, this is a good game also. But, yeah, no, I'm going to go with Ghana. Ghana look good on defense, but I think it also is going to be like a 1-0 final.
All right, Casey, I'm going to disagree with you here and let Colin pick the winner. I'm going with Colombia.
Yeah, I think Ghana's a great story. I have Ghana. I picked them. They're one of the best defensive teams in the tournament. Their big statement really was drawing England to me. And, although they could have had a penalty and gone up 1-0, they also gave up a pretty clear chance in front of goal that I think they got lucky to get away with. I just think Colombia is the better team. I think they kind of coasted in their last game, and people are writing them off after that. But they coasted, not really coasted, but they played Portugal. They played them to 0-0. I think this is a really good team. I think this is a team that could go far in this World Cup. So, yeah, I'm going to go with them.
Yeah, all right. That is the last of the round of 32. Let's go ahead and move on to the round of 16. The way that our bracket has shaped out, that leaves Paraguay to face off against France. Colin, you got a pick here?
Run from it, hide from it. I'm picking France. Nothing to say.
Casey?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Colin on this one. They haven't shown any weaknesses, so they're going to move on to the next round.
We might pick France to sweep all the way through because I'm picking France easily into the quarterfinal. All right, next matchup, Canada versus Netherlands. Casey, you have an opinion here?
I thought both Morocco and Netherlands can beat Canada, so I'm going to go with Netherlands on this one.
Colin?
Yeah, I feel like the round of 16 game is happening right now as we speak, so I'm going to take the Netherlands.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think that this is the true round of 16 game. Netherlands moving on to the quarterfinal. All right, that leaves us with Portugal versus Spain. Colin?
I'm worried about both of these teams in the big moments. I think they've both really fallen flat when it comes down to it. But at the end of the day, as long as Ronaldo is leading the front line for Portugal, I don't think they have it. I'm going Spain.
Casey?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go the opposite way, but for the same reason. I don't know who can make the big statement at the end, but I think Portugal will win this one.
All right, guys, I'm breaking a tie yet again, but I have to go with the team that I selected in the first round, not Casey's. Spain and Lamine Yamal move on. All right, United States versus Senegal in the round of 16. Casey, who do you got?
U.S. They look so good, and I don't think Senegal has the defense to stop them.
Colin?
I think I got to go with the U.S. also. They've looked incredible at this World Cup. If they can just keep it rolling, I want to roll them right into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and I'm also picking United States, so they will be rolling into the quarterfinals in our predictions. All right, moving on to the other side of the bracket now. We are going to have Brazil matching up against Norway. Colin, you got an opinion?
Yeah, I think Norway's really good. I think Norway's going to give a lot of trouble to that Brazil back line. I don't think it's, as youthful and as athletic as it's been in years past. But at the end of the day, I think Brazil's made the last 8 quarterfinals or something like that. I don't expect that to change now. They beat Japan, which, it didn't look pretty, but Japan is a team that a lot of people thought could go far, and Brazil was able to take them down. So I'm gonna give them the nod. It's gonna be close though, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go ahead and interject and project a potential upset. I think, Holland has been one of the most electric players of this World Cup so far, and I don't foresee that changing in the knockout round. So I'm going to predict the upset, Norway over Brazil. Casey, break the tie.
All right. Yeah, I just don't think this defense can stop Holland the whole time, so I'm going to have to go with Norway.
Well, there you have it. That's our first major upset of this bracket. Norway moving on to the quarterfinal over Brazil. All right, that leaves us with Mexico versus England. Casey, who do you got?
I dissed on both of these teams in the round before, and I don't think either of them should be going to the quarterfinals, but I think England will end up finishing this game on top.
Yeah, Colin, you taking Mexico or England?
I don't. I think England is going to flop. I think at some point they're going to feel the pressure, and I think the fans at the Azteca could be that pressure. So I'm going to give it to Mexico here, playing on home soil. I think this is a really good team. Again, has not conceded a goal. We saw what a good defense in Ghana was able to do to England. I think Mexico's been on another level.
Yeah, like I said last week, I think that England could find themselves as an early exit with the way that the bracket shaped out. I like England's chances to make the quarterfinal. I think they have the star power on their team. I'm going to take England to move on to the next round. And before we move on to the final quarter of this round of 16, we're going to take a quick break and be right back. All right, guys, we are back. The final few games of this round of 16. Argentina versus Egypt. Colin, who do you got?
Messi, move on.
All right, Casey?
Yeah, they're moving on. Argentina.
All right, in the wise words of Colin, Messi, move on. Final game of the round of 16, Switzerland versus Colombia. Casey?
Colombia's a good team, better team, so I'm going to go with them.
Yeah, Colin?
I like what Colombia has. I'm going with them.
And I agree, Colombia moving on to the quarterfinal. All right, switching over to our quarterfinal matchups now, we have France versus the Netherlands. Colin, who are you picking here?
Do you need to ask or do you want to guess?
You're picking France.
Oh, yes, I am picking France.
All right, Casey, are you gonna predict an upset or too early?
Too early. I'm gonna go with France on this one also.
I agree. It is far too early. France moving on to the semifinals. All right, next game is going to be sorry, I lost my train of thought. Spain versus United States. Colin, you got to pick.
I'm happy we're here, but congrats to Spain on going on the World Cup semifinal.
Yeah, Casey?
No, I'm going with the U.S. They look way better than Spain in the group stage, so looks like the U.S. are going to semis.
And looks like they're not, because I'm picking Spain as my tiebreaker here.
Really?
Spain,
oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Spain moving on to the World Cup
That being said,
semifinals.
I do think this iteration of the U.S. men's national team could beat this iteration of the Spanish men's national team. Because are they going to? I don't think so, but they could.
I certainly don't think it's impossible. Just based on what I've seen, though, I don't have any reason to believe that that's the likely outcome. So I'm going with Spain. All right, let's move on to the opposite side of the bracket now. We have Norway as our first major upset in the quarterfinal versus England. Colin, you got to pick?
Well, I didn't pick either of these teams to be here, so I feel a little odd about it. That being said, I already think England should have flopped out of this tournament, so I am picking Norway to the semifinal. I wouldn't have picked them if Mexico or Brazil were here, but since they are not, I will pick Norway.
All right, Casey?
Yeah, I'm gonna go same way. Norway. England has to flop sometime.
Yeah, I agree. Norway to the semifinal. Wow, that's a sentence. Guys, has that ever happened before? Norway to the semifinal?
Probably
I
not.
don't think so.
Likely not. First time for everything. All right, moving on. Argentina versus Colombia. Casey, you got an idea?
Like I said, they're going back to back. Argentina.
Colin?
The things I would do to see this game, the passion, the music, it would be insane. The stadium would erupt. The stadium would be lit on fire no matter how it ended. I'm taking the best player on the field, though. I'm going with Messi to move on.
Yeah, and I agree. Like you said, Messi, enough said. Scored in 7 straight World Cup games. They are moving on to the semifinals yet again. All right, guys, that leaves us with only 3 games left. 2 semifinal matchups. France versus Spain. Colin, who do you got?
France. I think Spain, there was a lot of times on this run where I really genuinely thought they could have lost. I thought they could have lost to Portugal. I think the United States is a team they could lose to. I don't feel that way about France. I think this is a more complete team, more cohesive team. They're solid all over the field. And I do think Spain is a little banged up right now. We've seen them dealing with injuries, seen them struggle to put the ball in the back of the net a little bit against teams other than Saudi Arabia. So I think this is a real test for them. I think they could go. I think it'll be France, though.
Yeah, Casey?
Yeah, I'm going to go France. They look like a more complete team.
Yeah, and we are sweeping France all the way to the World Cup finals. All right, guys, France will be awaiting the winner of the other semifinal matchup. Surprising we have Norway in the semifinal taking on Argentina. Casey, can Norway keep it going, or is this where their run ends?
No, they cannot. Argentina to the finals.
Colin?
Yeah, this reminds me a lot of the like "What's a polar bear doing in Texas" meme. I genuinely would not have picked this team to be here, so I'm not gonna speak on it. Could it happen? Yeah, maybe. But I did pick Argentina to be here, and I'm picking them to move on to the final.
Yeah, and we are going to sweep both of the semifinal matchups. Argentina on to the final, which sets up a World Cup final rematch.
We want to do third place.
Oh, yeah, let's go ahead and do third place. So that would be Spain versus Norway. Colin, you have a pick there?
I think it means more to Norway. I'm going to give it to them. I think they come out and they really try to medal in the World Cup for the first time, and they get that done.
Yeah, Casey?
Yeah, I don't see much in Spain to beat Holland, so I'm going to go with Norway as well.
Yeah, I do still think that the better team is Spain, but clearly I'm already outvoted. So we are going to go with Norway to medal in the World Cup third place game. All right, moving on to the final for real this time. Rematch of 2022, France versus Argentina, Mbappe versus Messi. Colin, make your pick.
A lot of goals in this game. I would love to see it, and I think it's only fitting that, we've had, we had a new hope, and it's time for the Empire to strike back. I'm going with France.
Yeah, I am going to leave it up to Casey to decide here because I think that Messi has, by far and away, been the best player in this World Cup. I have no reason to assume that he's slowing down in what could be his final chance at winning a World Cup title with Argentina. So, Casey, you're making the final pick for us. France, Argentina, who will be the 2026 World Cup champion?
Back to back, baby. It's going to be Argentina. France does not have the defense and to stop Messi, so
Argentina doesn't have the defense to stop Mbappe, Dembele, Doué, or Elise. Imagine if they all played together. Oh, wait, they do.
Hey, wait, you agreed to this format. You got to accept the outcome.
I'm accepting the outcome. I'm just adamantly putting out there on the internet that I disagree with it. So when France wins, you can come back here and see what I said.
Won't say that on the graphic. Sorry.
I know, but I'll make a GIF. I'll clip it. I'll put it in the comments.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on. We talked about the World Cup for quite some time there. So coming up is the MLB All-Star game. Today is the 29th of June. The 2nd of July is when the vote will close and the rosters will be announced for both the American League and the National League. So what we're going to do, guys, is we are going to pick who we think will win out of the finalists for this All-Star game. We're going to do it in the exact same way that we did the World Cup. Best 2 out of 3 or 3 of 3 will move on and become the starter for the All-Star team. So let's start in the American League. First baseman, the finalists are Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays and Ben Rice of the New York Yankees. Colin, who do you have as your favorite here?
One of these guys is a hype pick and one of these guys is an all-star. So I went with the all-star and I took Ben Rice.
Yeah. Casey?
I also went with Ben Rice. I mean, Vlad was showing a little stint of hope, but his full beginning of his season did not look well. So I'm going to go with Ben Rice.
Yeah, I'm also going with Ben Rice. He's hitting 270, 22 home runs on the year. It's much better than Vladimir Guerrero. So I think Ben Rice deserves a spot at the All-Star game. Second baseman, that pick has already been made. Ernie Clement will already be the starting second baseman for the American League, which allows us to move on to third base. Junior Caminero of the Tampa Bay Rays up against Kazuma Okamoto of the Toronto Blue Jays. Casey?
I'm going to go with Junior Caminero. He looked a lot better this season so far, even though I've only watched him, not Okamoto.
Colin?
Unfortunately, I am forced to make the unbiased pick here, and I'm going to have to go with Junior Caminero because he's a much better player, and I will not be saying
I love it. I absolutely agree. Junior Caminero is headed to the All-Star game for the Tampa Bay Rays. All right, moving on to shortstop. We have Andres Jimenez versus Bobby Witt Jr. Colin, make your pick.
Yeah, it's gonna be Bobby Witt. I like Andres Jimenez, but Bobby Witt is just. I mean, he's an MVP caliber player, and Andres Jimenez is an All-Star caliber player. I hope he should get a reserve spot, but it's gonna be Bobby Witt starting.
Casey?
Yeah, I'm going the same way, Bobby Witt.
Well, three sweeps in a row. Looks pretty easy to pick so far. I'm also going Bobby Witt. So Bobby Witt at shortstop. All right, moving on to catcher to finish out the infield. Alejandro Kirk versus Shea Langoliers. Casey, you got to pick?
I don't understand why Kirk is here. Like, he does not have the stats.
Because Toronto is not Toronto. It's all of Canada voting for these guys. It's ridiculous.
Damn, they wish that they won. Sucks. But I'm gonna go with Langoliers.
Yeah, Colin?
I'm going with Shea Langoliers myself. To go ahead and maybe even hit a home run in the All-Star game.
Yeah, well, we are going to sweep the entire infield for the American League. Shea Langoliers, it's not even particularly close. He will be presumed, in my opinion, I think it's pretty clear, the starting catcher for the American League. All right, in the outfield, we have 6 options. 3 of them will make it through. Cody Bellinger of the New York Yankees, also of the New York Yankees, Aaron Judge. Of the Toronto Blue Jays, Jesus Sanchez and Dalton Varsho. Of the Los Angeles Angels, Mike Trout. And of the Minnesota Twins, Byron Buxton. Colin, go ahead and make your picks.
I just want to start off by saying, like, the Blue Jays aren't even really in the playoff picture. And if they're like a fringe team right now. So this is absurd bias from the fan vote. But clearly, it's just the whole country is voting for them because now all of a sudden they like baseball since they made the World Series. But whatever. I used to hate this with the Yankees, but at least the Yankees were voting for Aaron Judge when they were doing it. So I'll leave that there. I went with Aaron Judge, speak of the devil, Byron Buxton, and Mike Trout. I didn't go with any of the Blue Jays, obviously. And those are the 3 best outfielders, I think, in the American League right now.
All right, so Casey, are you making the face of someone who's in complete agreement yet again?
Yeah. I thought you were going to go with someone, maybe one person different, but damn, we went the same.
Guys, we are batting 1,000 right now. I am with the exact same 3. I think it's pretty clear cut here as far as the American League goes, and I think we're probably going to be on the same page for the designated hitter for the American League. Yordan Alvarez of the Houston Astros and George Springer, yet again, of the Toronto Blue Jays, somehow is a finalist. Casey.
I'm going to go with George Never. No, it's going to be Yordan Alvarez.
Yeah, Colin?
One of these players is potentially the best player in the American League this year, should be the American League MVP, should have gotten the most votes because they've been the best player through half a season. And the other one plays for a team that has all of Canada supporting him. So I'm going to say Yordan Alvarez.
And for the same reason, I will also say Yordan Alvarez. So not only did we sweep through the infield, we swept through the entire American League lineup. So, guys, our American League lineup at first base, Ben Rice. At second base, Ernie Clement. At third base, Junior Caminero. At shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr. At catcher, Shea Langoliers. In the outfield will be Byron Buxton, Aaron Judge, and Mike Trout. And the designated hitter for the American League will be Yordan Alvarez. That leaves us with the National League to figure out. Maybe it'll be a little bit more contentious as we start with the first baseman, Freddie Freeman of the Los Angeles Dodgers up against Matt Olson of the Atlanta Braves. Colin, you got to pick?
Yeah, pretty interesting decision. It's between Freddie Freeman or the guy who was brought in to replace Freddie Freeman. Unfortunately, the Braves hit a home run of a replacement. I'm going to go with Matt Olson.
Yeah, Casey?
Yeah, Matt Olson has been looking really good, but watching the Dodgers game as a fan, Freddie Freeman has had a very great month as a first baseman and as a hitter, so I'm going to go with Freeman on this one.
Wow, guys, it finally happened. Our first tiebreaker that we're going to have. Casey, unfortunately, I'm going to disagree with you and give Matt Olson the bid. I think that he has been stellar for the Atlanta Braves this year.
He's been stellar for the last few months, not just the last month.
Yes, so I think that Matt Olson will be the starting first baseman of the National League. All right, at second base, We have one that's maybe not quite as contentious, Ozzy Albies of the Atlanta Braves versus Bryson Stott of the host team, Philadelphia Phillies. Casey.
Albies has the better stats. I'm going to go with him.
Colin?
Ozzy Albies has been the best second baseman in baseball this year. I'm picking him.
Yeah, and it's not particularly close. I'm picking him as well. 3 versus 0 on Ozzy Albies. At third base,
Can I just take a second? Morocco just leveled the game in the 90th minute. So just for all my Morocco players, Casey, you're welcome. Sorry.
Continue. All right, we'll talk about it next show. Third base, Alec Boehm of the Philadelphia Phillies versus Max Muncy of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Colin?
I went with Max Muncy. I think he's been the better player this year.
Yeah, Casey?
Watching Max Muncy this season, starting off, it didn't look good at all, but it has been an exponential growth. So I'm going to go with Max Muncy as well.
I am also going with Max Muncy. I think he's, been clearly the best third baseman in the National League. So a Dodger finally gets in the lineup, Casey. All right, at shortstop of the Washington Nationals, C.J. Abrams versus Mookie Betts, again of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Casey, who do you prefer here? I think I know.
Why'd you go for me first? Because I do not want to choose against Mookie. But Mookie has been hurt, and his stats don't look right. I think this was just a big LA fan vote, but I am gonna go with C.J. Abrams. He has the better stats. He's looked good all year. So,
well, that is a surprise. I did not think you were gonna go against your Dodgers, Colin.
Yeah, I'm going C.J. Abrams. I was kind of scared to pick against the Dodgers again. I was kind of feeling good that it was remote locations that we filmed from, so he can't jump through the screen at me or anything. But yeah, C.J. Abrams just has been better. Mookie Betts is good. He's a good player. He doesn't have the stats of an all-star this year. It's just because he's been hurt. By the end of the year, we're not going to be talking about Mookie Betts as a bad player. I'm not worried about him. But right now, C.J. Abrams deserves the nod.
Yeah, well, don't worry. You're going to get another chance to pick against the Dodgers if you do so choose. I'm also taking C.J. Abrams. He will be the starting shortstop of the National League. At catcher, Drake Baldwin of the Atlanta Braves up against Will Smith of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Colin, will you pick against the Dodgers this time?
Well, Drake Baldwin, I think when healthy, has been the best catcher in the National League, probably the best catcher in MLB. Unfortunately, he's been super banged up recently, which, makes me lean toward Will Smith. Unfortunately, Will Smith has also been injured, and for that reason, I will be going with Drake Baldwin.
Casey?
Yeah, for the same reason, but opposite pick, I'm going to go with my boy, Will Smith.
All right, Casey, I think you're showing a little hometown bias here. I am going with Drake Baldwin. I think that's a pretty clear-cut answer here. In my opinion.
Answer whenever Colin answers first, buddy. Look at the tape. Record the tape, bro.
All right.
Whatever. It's okay, because I want to talk about our DH, who is Ohtani, the number one vote getter. So he makes it on to the starting lineup.
I would have picked Ohtani. You guys just voted.
I love the enthusiasm.
You guys just voted too strongly, so I didn't get the opportunity to pick him. So it's really your team's fault that I didn't get to pick any Dodgers today.
Well, Casey, I hate to break it to you. You just disrespected every outfielder in the National League. But that's all right. You're right. Shohei Ohtani will be the designated hitter for the National League. All right, final spot to pick then. Outfield. 3 choices of 6 options. Ronald Acuna of the Atlanta Braves, also the Atlanta Braves, Michael Harris of the Los Angeles Dodgers, Teoscar Hernandez and Andy Pages, of the Philadelphia Phillies, Brandon Marsh, and of the New York Mets, Juan Soto. Colin?
I picked the best outfielder in the National League this year, Juan Soto. Then I picked the best outfielder on both of the top 2 teams in the league. So I went with Ronald Acuna and Andy Pages.
Casey?
Unfortunately, Acuna was hurt for a bit, and didn't he get hurt again?
Yeah, but I think he's clear of these other guys. I think a healthy Acuna has just been one of the best players in baseball this year.
That's fair. But I want to see a good healthy lineup. So I'm going to go with Brandon Marsh, Andy Pages, and Juan Soto.
Yeah, well, Casey, you said I was just copying Colin. I agree with your picks here. I'm also going Brandon Marsh, Andy Pages, and Juan Soto. I think those have been the three best outfielders in the National League, and those will be our outfielders in our picks. So to recap the National League for us, our starting first baseman will be Matt Olson. The starting second baseman will be Ozzie Albies. The starting third baseman will be Max Muncy. The shortstop will be C.J. Abrams. The catcher, Drake Baldwin. In the outfield, we will have Brandon Marsh, Andy Pages, and Juan Soto. And already locked in as the designated hitter, Casey's favorite, Shohei Ohtani. Oh, yeah, that's a nice dance. Oh, yeah?
I would have picked against Shohei Ohtani just to spite Casey because I knew you wouldn't have picked against him just to spite Casey, so I could have gotten my spite and still the player that I wanted to make it.
One thing to note, chose Junior Caminero, even though his defense is atrocious, but let's go with that.
That's because your other option was a Toronto Blue Jay.
Yeah, it was really two hard picks, but Yeah,
I picked Andy Pages. I picked the best player on the Dodgers this year, Andy Pages.
Fair. That's fair.
And World Series legend, Andy Pages.
He has unironically been, if Ohtani is the best player on the Dodgers, Andy Pages has been the second best player on the Dodgers for the last 2 years.
You agree, Casey?
I can agree. He's top two.
He's manning center field. That's a big ask, and he's hitting near 300 for almost 2 years now.
But he did dip like this whole month. So
yeah, he did.
But I can agree that he is top two on the Dodgers. Thanks for letting me finish.
Maybe he's not the most talented, but his stats they never fail for somehow.
Oh no, he is very talented. His defense is supreme. But
yeah, I mean it's weird with Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Kyle Tucker on the team, but I do still think Andy Pages is like one of the most valuable players on that team.
He is, yeah.
Also, I picked Max Muncy, so now I think about it, I did all right by you.
Thanks.
All right, guys. The MLB All-Star Game coming up in July. The official rosters will release on July 2nd per the MLB, and that is going to wrap us up for today. Guys, before we get out of here, do you have anything else to leave everyone with?
Well, we're going to extra time here in Netherlands, Morocco. So
well, then let's go ahead and get to signing off so we can watch it.
That's a big point swing for you lesser game pickers who cannot put together a legendary roster such as myself. So hopefully you
cannot afford to drop such games.
Yeah, one of you really needs to pick up 4 points on me because they're 20 points behind. So I'll work for Morocco for him.
All right, guys. Well, that is going to wrap it up today for us. Thank you all so much for watching. If you stuck around until the very end, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking and subscribing to this channel. Make sure to stay tuned to our Instagram account under the same name at 300 Section Sports Podcast. Continual content posted throughout the week. We will be back next week, Monday, for episode number 6. That will be July the 6th. Interestingly enough.
Before my birthday.
Wow, happy pre-birthday.
You knew that.
What? Well, I did know that, but all right. We're going to sign off. Thank you all so much for watching again, and we will see you all next week. Goodbye, everybody.